Mark Rogers TV running around the country looking at positional units. We stop in the Pac-12 at Utah, and we join Shane Roberts from Block U to help us with the defensive backfield for the Utes. Shane, we always appreciate the breakdown and definitely need you to give us some expertise on this one. So you lost Tevin Carter this past season, 56 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, picked off 2 passes. Well, let's start at cornerback. And how do you see the personnel sizing up as we head toward August camp?
On the defensive side of the ball, the two groups you can really just stake in terms of saying these guys are going to be really good is going to be the defensive backs, the secondary, as well as the defensive line. With the DBs, almost the entire crew returns. Obviously, you alluded to Tevin Carter. Carter was he was oft injured. He had a hard time staying on the field. He also had a little bit of a hard time staying in shape at times based off of the injuries. But he was a big, strong safety. But the entire crew returning is pretty incredible. I mean, when you're talking cornerback, for Utah fans, you probably have to lead off with Dominique Hatfield. Hatfield had quite a few legal problems last offseason. He didn't really play he didn't play against Michigan at all. He got some reps against Utah State and really started to get back into the groove as the season went along. Had a couple pick sixes as the season went along. Kind of the infamous trash talker on the team. He loves the chatter, but he's one of the more reliable cornerbacks and has been for a couple years now. You got Reginald Porter on the other side. He's battled injuries quite a bit through his career, but very, very consistent. A very good corner. Very excited to see him back. You got Justin Thomas sitting pretty much at the nickel. JT's a small, he's 5'8", $180. He's a small guy, but he's been a contributor ever since he stepped on the campus. So he's got the nickel lockdown. So those are going to be your 3 primary starting corners. Behind them, you'll have Brian Allen. He's actually 6'3", 205. He's a big guy. He's kind of been in the mold that Utah's been sending to the NFL for the past couple seasons. And then you also have Boobie Hobbs. Boobie Hobbs is one of the ones, well, you can pretty much say about Boobie, I think Dominique Hatfield, Justin Thomas. They all had an interception of number 1 overall pick. Holy cow, I'm spacing on his name all of a sudden.
Mr. Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, that's right, yep. So they all kind of picked on Mr. Goff in the infamous game in Salt Lake City. So
he had 5 of them, right? Total?
5 of them, yeah. It was he was throwing them out left and right. And Boobie actually had the game-sealing pass breakup. So very, very solid on the back end, on the outside. So I'm very excited to see these corners coming back.
And they're pretty productive corners, maybe not stars, but Justin Thomas heading toward his senior season with 48 tackles, 3 interceptions. You mentioned Reginald Porter, one of the starters heading into his junior campaign, 38 total tackles. Dominique Hatfield, the talker, just a sophomore last season, but he had 4 picks and 33 tackles. So in this day and age, especially in your conference, with the passing game in your conference, probably the best in college football when we talk combination of quarterbacks and wideouts. You need more than 2 corners, or at least guys that are capable of handling that 3rd and 4th receiver. When we look at safety, obviously it starts with Marcus Williams, 65 tackles, 5 picks, 2 tackles for loss. Shane, what makes him such a solid player?
He's just a ball hawk. He's everywhere on the field. He's the proverbial center fielder when it comes to college football. The funny thing about Marcus is his very first start, his true freshman year, was against Washington State. And he just got burned and lit up, and fans and everybody was like, oh, man, this poor kid might get destroyed. And he learned and he adapted very, very quickly, becoming an all Pac-12 performer at safety. A lot of fans are kind of worried that he might leave early for the NFL because he's very productive. He's big, he's fast, he's probably the best athlete on the team. There's actually the team actually released a video a week or 2 ago of him dunking on a basketball court over one of his teammates. Very LeBron James-esque, just straight up hammering on the guy. The dude's just a freak in terms of athletic capabilities. Very excited to see him come back because he'll eliminate a lot of deep threats that teams are going to try to do. Joining him, of course, a lot of fans have been anxious for a couple of years to see Chase Hansen. He was very highly regarded quarterback, and a lot of people kind of wondered if he would see the quarterback or not, but he's in at safety, and it became very, very apparent that that is his natural fit. He ended up breaking his leg in that game, and Coach Whittingham believes that if he wants to play at the next level, he'll more than likely have to be safety. If he bulks up, he could probably be a linebacker, but we'll probably see him probably a bit of a hybrid role this season, primarily at safety. And then another guy from Florida. A lot of these guys I've named off since I've joined you over the past couple months are from Florida. Andre Godfrey, he's been kind of banged up over the last season, but you'll probably see him in the rotation, getting a lot of run, a lot of reps. So those are three of the names that really stand out to me that you'll see kind of ball hawking on the back end.
Hey, Shane, if you really look at the productivity from last season, it looks like a really not just a good group in regards to having a couple players, but in comparisons to, and I do this pretty much across the board in talking to teams and bloggers across college football and look at the depth coming back. This is a pretty deep group in regards to playing experience and being productive on the field. So you got to feel pretty good about this group, I would think.
Well, if you don't, that's scary because Kyle Whittingham loves to play a traditional NFL-style press man coverage. He's going to put the corners on islands, and that's what they run 80, 90% of the time. They'll mix in a little bit of zone depending on the matchups, but they're going to say, hey, that's your guy. Cover them, and if they're not productive, you're not going to last. Unfortunately, since Utah's joined the conference, they've always had a good couple corners. They've put a ton of corners in the league over the past 10, 15 years. Now they're getting to the point, though, as you alluded to, they're starting to get the depth, and they're really starting to get a lot of names that they can cycle through. It'll be interesting seeing going out of this season into next season. There's some seniors that are going to be leaving. How do they replenish them? But tell you what, the cupboards are pretty full right now.
Tyson Cicero was the 85th rated safety in the 2015 class, according to ESPN, out of Florida. In this past February class, a couple corners who may not see the field this year, but you can look out for in 2017 and beyond. Terrell Burgess, 61st rated corner out of California, and a Texas product in Nigel King, the 70th rated corner in the 2016 class. Shane Roberts from the Block U helping us break down Utah in the backfield, and it looks like a good group. Thanks so much for joining us, Shane.
Thanks, Mark, as always.